Why is Cecilion still meta? Well, as a solo player, Cecilion is one of the best picks you can go for. But remember, Cecilion shines the most in the late game. So if you're playing Cecilion and losing early, don't panic. That's totally fine. Your main goal is to stack up, because once you hit those high stacks, your damage will go from meh to monster level. In this match, the enemy team was feeling confident. They really thought they had it in the bag. And honestly, they kind of did at first. But as a solo rank player, I know Cecilion's real power shows in the late game, so I didn't surrender. Even when some of my random teammates wanted to give up because they were feeding, I kept my cool and trusted the late game comeback. Now let's talk about the build. But before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your main hero. Let's get into it. Let's dive deep into Cecilion's full power build, piece by piece, and talk about why each item transforms him from a slow-starting mage into a late-game monster that can melt entire teams. Let's start with Demon Shoes, the foundation of Cecilion's entire early-game survival kit. Now, if you've ever played Cecilion, you know mana is your biggest weakness in the early stages. Every skill you cast, especially your first skill, Bat Impact, eats up a huge chunk of mana. That's because Cecilion is all about spam. Poke, 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 stack, stack, stack. So what Demon Shoes do is keep that engine running. The passive restores your mana whenever you get a kill or assist, and even when you simply take down a minion wave. This means you don't have to constantly recall to base or depend too much on buffs. The more time you stay on the map, the faster you stack, and the faster you become terrifying. In short, Demon Shoes are not just boots, they're your energy lifeline. You could go Arcane Boots for extra magic penetration, but for most games, Demon Shoes give you the consistent Cecilion needs to reach his late-game form without being a mana-starved zombie. Now, moving on to Clock of Destiny, one of the most iconic items for scaling mages. And for Cecilion, it's almost non-negotiable. Think of it as your investment plan. The moment you buy it, the passive starts stacking, giving you more HP, mana, and magic power every few seconds. The longer the game goes, the stronger it becomes. For Cecilion, that's perfect, because he's not rushing early kills, he's scaling with time. The bonus mana also amplifies his damage through his passive, Overflowing, which converts a portion of his mana into extra magic power. So the more mana you have, the more pain you deliver. Clock of Destiny gives you exactly that, mana for survivability and magic power for destruction. And once it's fully stacked, you get a big burst of power that makes your mid-game poke extremely dangerous. Every Bat Impact starts to feel heavier, and enemies who once ignored your damage suddenly realize it's starting to hurt, a lot. Next up, Lightning Truncheon. Now this item is the ultimate synergy piece with Clock of Destiny. Why? Because Lightning Truncheon scales with your total mana. It releases Chain Lightning that deals extra magic damage to multiple enemies based on your mana pool. So if you've got a huge mana pool from Clock of Destiny and your passive, this item hits like a thunderstorm. Combine it with Cecilion's Bat Impact, which already has a massive area of effect, and you're basically turning the battlefield into a lightning show. It's also perfect for punishing grouped up enemies. One cast and you're hitting 2, 3, sometimes even 5 heroes at once. The damage spike after getting Lightning Truncheon is usually the point where Cecilion stops being ignored and starts getting focused. That's when you know you're online. Now let's talk about Glowing Wand, a highly underrated but deadly choice on Cecilion. A lot of players skip it, but in the right matchups, this item can turn your poke into pure torture. Glowing Wand's passive burns your enemies over time whenever you deal magic damage. And since Cecilion's Bat Impact is constantly hitting enemies, that burn stacks up quickly, especially on tanky heroes. You know those annoying fighters and tanks who just won't die? Heroes like Fredrin, Edith, or Glue? Glowing Wand is your answer. It chips away at their HP little by little while keeping the pressure consistent. The extra movement speed also gives you better positioning, which is super important for Cecilion. You always want to be at a safe distance, throwing out spells without getting caught. So Glowing Wand turns you into a sustained damage dealer rather than just a burst mage. It's a small flame that becomes a wildfire over time. Now we move into pure power territory with Holy Crystal. This item is all about amplifying your total magic power by a percentage, meaning the more power you already have, the stronger its effect becomes. By the time you build this, your Clock of Destiny is maxed, your Lightning Truncheon is active, and your mana pool is enormous. Holy Crystal multiplies all of that. It's the point where your Bat Impact starts one-shotting squishies if they don't build magic defense. And what's even better, every time you hit with your skill, you trigger Holy Crystal's passive for bonus magic power on the next cast. So when you chain your combos, Bat Impact into Sanguine Claws, that second hit feels like a nuke. You'll see enemies vanish before they even realize they're being targeted. It's pure magic domination. Finally, the crown jewel, Blood Wings. Now, this item isn't just a luxury, it's your late-game insurance policy. Blood Wings gives you the highest magic power in the game, but that's not even the best part. Its passive converts your magic power into a shield, so the stronger you are, the tankier you become. That means even assassins who dive you, like Gusian or Hayabusa, will have a hard time bursting you down. Combine that shield with Cecilion's naturally long range, and suddenly you're not just dangerous, you're untouchable. You can stand your ground, spam your abilities, and melt anyone who dares to approach. Late-game Cecilion with Blood Wings is a walking disaster for the enemy team. Your damage zones the entire map, your range controls every fight, and your shield keeps you alive long enough to destroy everything. Now, let's tie this all back to Cecilion's skill synergy and why this build fits him like a glove. His first skill, Bat Impact, is your bread and butter. It's what you use to poke, stack, and deal massive AoE damage. Every item here either boosts your mana or amplifies that skill scaling. Demon Shoes and Clock of Destiny give you the mana you need to keep casting. Lightning Truncheon and Holy Crystal turn each cast into a mini explosion. Glowing Wand adds that burning pressure over time, making your poke continuous. And Blood Wings seals the deal, giving you both survivability and even more power to amplify every hit. Then there's his second skill, Sanguine Claws. It's your crowd control, the skill that pulls enemies together for your combo. When you hit it right and follow up with Bat Impact, Lightning Truncheon's passive chains across multiple enemies, and Glowing Wand's burn starts ticking on all of them. You create chaos in one simple combo. And if you manage to activate your ultimate, Bat's Feast, after that, it's game over. The lifesteal from his ultimate, combined with Bloodwing's shield, turns you into a regenerating fortress. You'll be draining enemies while healing yourself. It's absolutely devastating in extended team fights. So what makes this build so good isn't just the raw damage, it's the balance. Every item contributes to Cecilion's core identity: scaling, mana conversion, range control, and late-game dominance. You start the game as a slow-moving mage who's vulnerable to ganks, but as the minutes pass, you evolve into an unstoppable artillery cannon. Once you reach the late game, one combo can decide the match. You can delete squishies, shred tanks, and turn every fight in your favor. That's why patience is key with Cecilion. Trust the scaling, farm safely, position smartly, and when the time comes, unleash your full combo and watch the enemies disappear. So to sum it all up, Demon Shoes for mana sustain, Clock of Destiny for scaling power, Lightning Truncheon for chain burst, Glowing Wand for consistent burn, Holy Crystal for amplified destruction, and Blood Wings for unkillable late-game strength. Each item fits perfectly into Cecilion's rhythm, slow at first, but once he gets going, he becomes an unstoppable nightmare. And that, my friend, is why this build has stood the test of time. Cecilion might not dominate early, but give him the minutes he needs, and he'll dominate the late game like no one else. Every stack you collect, every minute you survive, and every item you complete pushes you one step closer to absolute power. So play smart, stay patient, and let your magic do the talking. By the end of the game, you'll be the reason the enemy team hits that surrender button. As you can see in these two games, things didn't start off great. We were losing pretty bad. The enemy was dominating early, and honestly, most players would have already hit that surrender button. But like I always say when you're using Cecilion, never lose hope in the early game. Cecilion isn't built for that. His true power comes later. The late game is your playground, your time to shine, and your chance for that epic comeback. You don't need to rush, you don't need to chase kills, you just need to focus, position properly, and keep stacking. Because when that 12-minute mark hits and your mana pool starts overflowing, that's when everything changes. Every bat impact suddenly feels like a meteor. You'll see enemies who used to dive you early now running for their lives because they can't even handle one combo anymore. You start controlling team fights, zoning enemies from objectives, and turning lost games into highlight reels. But that only happens if you stay patient. Remember, even when your public teammates are feeding or spamming the surrender vote, you keep your focus. Let them panic. You stay cool, because you know what's coming. You know that one team fight where you'll hit that perfect combo, land your Sanguine Claws pull, drop a bat impact right after, and completely melt the enemy team. That's your moment, and it always comes if you play smart. So my advice, when playing Cecilion in solo rank, don't chase early fights. Just farm, protect your lane, rotate safely, and keep stacking. It's not about how fast you start, it's about how strong you finish. That's what separates good Cecilion players from great ones, patience and confidence. And if you manage to make it to the late game, you'll see exactly what I mean. Your damage becomes unreal, your range controls every fight, and your presence alone changes how the enemies play. They'll hesitate to even step forward because they know one mistake, one wrong move, and boom, they're gone. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with the word stack so I know you watched all the way till the end. It really helps a lot and keeps me motivated to make more guides and gameplay content for you guys. Thank you so much for the support. You all are amazing. Keep grinding, keep improving, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, no matter how bad it looks early, with Cecilion, every stack is a step toward victory. Stay patient, stay confident, and let your magic do the talking. See you next time!